Protesters demanded the release of political prisoners, the abolition of Syria's 48-year emergency law, more freedoms, and an end to pervasive government corruption. Demonstrations continued for the 11th day in Syria's southwestern city of As-Suwaida on Wednesday, an area populated predominantly by the Druze minority, with residents decrying poor living conditions and demanding regime change. The protests, which are taking place in areas governed by President Bashar al-Assad's regime, have so far shown no signs of abating. Unusually, security forces have refrained from cracking down as hundreds of people took to the streets, according to videos on social media, observers and local reports. The unrest shows that disgruntlement against Assad remains high as he tries to end his international isolation, even in parts of the country that haven't directly opposed him throughout its long civil war. The Druze are Syria's third-largest religious minority, making up 3% to 4% of the country's population, according to minority rights group International. Isolated for more than a decade since the 2011 Arab Spring, uprisings morphed into a bloody civil war between his regime and rebels who sought to depose him. Assad eventually regained control of most of the country with the help of allies Russia and Iran. With the northern strip still controlled by rebel forces, the UN has said that more than 300,000 civilians have been killed since the conflict broke out, some 1.5% of Syria's pre-war population. Millions of others have been displaced, despite efforts to hold Assad accountable for the losses. In May he was welcomed back into the Arab fold in a move opposed by Western states and many of the refugees who fled persecution under his rule. 4 months on, the concerted regional re-engagement with the regime can only be said to have destabilized Syria and considerably worsened living conditions for those inside the country. Despite Syria's readmission into the Arab League, its economy has continued to freefall. The UN's special envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, last week told the UN Security Council that the latest indicator of suffering for the country is the further collapsing economy. A very bad economic situation has got even worse, with every community in the country being affected, Pedersen said, adding that in some 3 months, the Syrian pound has lost over 80% of its value. The envoy added that the prices of essential goods, including food, medicine, fuel and other basic commodities, are spiraling out of control. And while the government has taken measures to double minimum state salaries, they are not enough to address the current dire circumstances. Assad has repeatedly blamed Western sanctions for the economic collapse.